It is March 24th, Dr. Bauer. We had our action meeting last Thursday, March 20th.
Yes, we did.
And this is our monthly Superintendent Live to review what happened at the last board meeting. I will first ask, how are you doing on this glorious Monday?
So, glorious Monday is an interesting phrase because is there such thing as... No, I'm just kidding. Very fortunate to be here and be at work and be healthy. So it is a glorious Monday. It is yucky outside, but that's okay. They say this time of year brings showers, right? So the flowers inevitably come a few months from now. So I'm good.
In like a lion, out like a lamb. So
yeah,
kind of in the lion part right now.
Yeah. So over the weekend, I was out at Penn State University with my son's basketball team. Always fun, but you feel like you didn't have a weekend, traveling out there Friday afternoon, there all weekend, get home last evening. It's like, okay, here we go. Lather, rinse, repeat. Let's do it again. So Monday comes quicker than any of us would like, but happy to be here. How are you, Bob?
I'm great. This is how I get through my Mondays and my Tuesdays and my Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Any day that ends in Y.
Yeah, so let's talk about the school board meeting. On Thursday, we had our some students come in and a feature on our music program in the North Penn School District. It is Music in Our Schools Month. It's also Music in Theater in Our Schools Month. And I think collectively we tend to also say Art in Our Schools Month. But basically it's Music in Our Schools Month. We start with there. Everything else comes out of that. So we had Vicki Callan on from Knapp Elementary School. Tell us about the kids and what they talked about.
Yeah, the kids just talked about their experiences and being involved in the music program at Knapp Elementary, which was certainly a microcosm of the programming just across North Penn. As a district, we're well known for our music program, instrumental and vocal. And we've had so many talented kids come through the district and have professional careers and be nominated for Tony Awards and on and on and on. But it all goes back to the incredible staff and the support in the home for music and the arts. So we thought it was important to bring some kids up to talk about our music program, and Ms. Callan joined them, and it was just great. It was just a great celebration. The kids, I think we had a 4th grader, 5th grader, and 6th grader. If you weren't watching, check out that meeting. It's posted live on YouTube. And yeah, just really proud of the kids, proud of our staff. And it was a great way to kick off the meeting.
Excellent. I always like to do this when we're live. I want to see if I can see who's all watching. Yeah, give us a shout out. I've got 8 viewers here right now. We got 8
viewers. Somebody put in the chat.
Shout out. Say hello. Throw something in the chat there. And just if you have any questions or comments, we can bring it up there. But I always like giving a shout out to those that are watching live. As far as the action goes, I was talking before when we were trying to look at things. I didn't see too many things within the action agenda. There's approval to go to RFP for our switch gear for the high school project. I don't know if we want to talk about what that means and where we're at on our high school renovation.
Yeah, so I am not the resident authority on switch gears and electrical systems. We have a director of facilities for that. We certainly have engineers, architects, and folks working through those logistics. We did get a hello in the chat there. So good morning, Christine. Hope you are well. But Bob, this is all part of that process. We have been saying for years, summer of 2025. And just so happens that the summer of 2025 is upon us. We are planning to have, this is a secret, which is not a secret, but we are planning to have a groundbreaking of sorts. We've discussed publicly that the renovations this summer will start with the newest parts of the building. That is the Rick Carroll Natatorium and K-Pod. So we're going to have a ceremony of sorts as essentially a groundbreaking in the middle of May. We'll provide more details to come, but things are progressing. And that campus is going to be a construction site before we know it. We've already picked out logos for hard hats for people who are visiting the site. We have a website ready to be launched if it hasn't been launched already. I know you've been working on, Bob, with the communications department. But yeah, we have to continue to say that there will be challenges, though, right? Like the parking lot's going to be affected. The campus as a whole, everything will feel some challenges over the course of the entire project. So we'll work together, partner, collaborate, and in the end, it'll all be worth it.
Yeah, that's what I said. Over the next 4 or 5 years here, it's going to be the shifting nature of what gets renovated. So things are going to move, and everything we do at some level in the next couple of years will be affected for that particular event or that time. We'll kind of have this kind of flowing change. So that begins, I think, essentially as soon as school ends, we're going to start prepping and getting ready to get K-Pod going and our temporary classrooms up and running. And you will know that there's things going on starting in June at North Penn High School. So, let's talk about public comment. We had a couple parents come up. And if I understand right, they're parents that are not in the system yet, right? So their parents, their kids are going to be coming to the school district soon, and they had some questions about cameras in the classroom and some requests, and gave some thought to that. And I know you guys are continuing discussions, but I don't know if you wanted to talk about that or how deep we wanted to get into those public comments that came up to the podium on Thursday night. Yeah,
happy to do so, Bob. First, I want to start with I really appreciate people just engaging, right, in essentially the democratic process, right? You have a right to make public comment. And we, of course, over the years have had some wonderful relationships develop as a result. It's a good way to partner. At times, it can be, for lack of better phrasing, adversarial. People have things to say at the microphone because they're angry. Or people come up and sing praises as well, right? But it's an important part of the process. What it isn't is the best way to converse or go back and forth. I mean, it's essentially the board is having a meeting and the public is invited to watch their meeting. But their meeting, and it's essentially like we're sitting in the back watching if you're in the crowd, right? So it's not the best place to sit down and work things out and collaborate and partner, but it's a good place to bring forth some concerns and then ultimately have some follow-up. So we had a couple emails that were sent to me or others a week or two ago, I'd say, asking for a meeting about that very issue, Bob. And I was scheduled to meet with a group of parents, but then that got canceled, not by me. They said, you know what, we've had some second thoughts. We're doing some research. We're going to cancel the meeting for now. No problem. I'm here if you need me. So then the other night, we had some parents that were very courageous and came to the microphone and talked about their concerns for their children and others, and asking for cameras to be placed in classrooms, in particular for students who are nonverbal, in case there are concerns about what happened in the room. So there are challenges with that, right? There are certainly privacy laws that are brought forward. There's some concerns, I'm sure, from staff that would be challenges. I don't have a camera in my office, right, watching me do my job all day, every day. But there are places in a school where I don't think there is any right or expectation of privacy, like a hallway, right? People expect there to be cameras in schools and hallways, large spaces. The exterior of the buildings certainly have plenty of cameras, but there are not currently cameras in traditional classroom settings. So there are some states across the country that have legislated that very thing to put them in certain classrooms, Pennsylvania not being one of them. But I'm not saying I am pro or against the concept at all. I think it's worth a conversation, partnering, and discussing the challenges that may arise if we were to move forward. Of course, there are significant costs to put cameras in every single classroom that we're talking about, and not just the cameras, but the infrastructure too, right? The network, and the space, all those things. But again, we're used to challenges. That doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means those are some challenges. So looking forward to talking about it. Really appreciate the advocacy, and we'll see where it goes. But certainly want to keep everybody updated and posted as those things progress. But I think the first meeting is later this week. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and just to the point, Jennifer, hello, Jennifer. Hi, Shannon. Thanks for joining us here. Both talking about our speakers here. Yeah, shout out. And talking about, it's tough too. If that's your first time coming up to a meeting, coming to the podium, there's cameras, there's a group of people, and it may look easier when you watch it on TV or YouTube, but when you walk up there, it is a little daunting sometimes to stand up and make comments. We always applaud our residents come out and to help make public comment. But like you said, we also have our committee meetings. We have other pieces, to continue to engage in all the different venues with us to move our district forward. The other thing I just wanted to kind of bring up, because there's a lot of education news nationally in the last week or so, and with the scaling back, and I guess Friday the official proposal to eliminate the Department of Education at the federal level. So, there's a lot of discussion about what that means. Just curious here at North Penn, what do you think that all those changes could mean for North Penn?
Wow, good question, Bob. So I did in our monthly e-matters, which is just like a newsletter coming from the school district, I did address this to a degree. We did have a presentation from Mr. Zach Trump, who is our interim assistant business administrator, about the impacts of the federal funds that are coming to the school district. It's somewhere around 2% in North Penn. It is not 2% of the budget in other districts necessarily. That's just here in North Penn. There are some districts locally that get a significant portion of their money from the federal government. And it's important to note that, look, I'm going to tread very lightly on matters that are seen as political. Mm-hmm. No one is saying education is bad and we should not have a Department of Education. What is being said is that it will be dismantled at the federal level, and all of that control will be at the state or local level. Mm-hmm. And then no one's saying we're cutting all the money that goes to all the school districts across the country. It's saying we're no longer going to be the gatekeepers of that money. The money will be disseminated differently. So if that's the case, and if all school districts across the country and locally are not losing monies, the concern isn't as great. So it really, Bob, it depends how all of that works out. Mm-hmm. Sure. Like I said, if in North Penn, it's roughly 2% of our overall budget that is federal money. We have a more significant amount from the state, and of course, locally is a overwhelming majority of the budget. So we'll see how it all plays out. Everybody is watching and waiting to hear how it will work. And I always say, don't make a rash decision if one isn't warranted. This isn't one where we need to hurry up and formulate an opinion. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Going to be patient, remain committed to kids, and doing the best we can to help our students and families and staff every day. So I don't really have an opinion right now. I am just going to continue to do the best that we can.
Gotcha. No, just figured it was something that was happening in the last week, and wondering if folks had questions on that. We had a couple comments in here. We're kind of digging into cameras, classroom, buses, and versus. Just a question in here of the difference between cameras on a bus versus classrooms. And I'll just go ahead and set this up. So we're not going to go into a deep dive on cameras in the classroom here, because we're still talking and meeting with folks and determining what that means. But generally, that's a kind of a basic question there. Is a bus like a hallway? Is it more like a classroom? What are the differences there?
Yeah, so I do know, and I don't have the specifics in front of me, Bob, but I do know that there's something with the Pennsylvania wiretap law that allows for audio to be recorded on buses, whereas audio is not recorded in our hallways and outside of our buildings. It's video only. And a lot of the wiretapping laws have to do with expectation of privacy. Mm-hmm. And it is certainly reasonable to say that there are not cameras in classrooms. And I was talking to our solicitor last week, and he said he's not aware of any school districts in Pennsylvania that have cameras in their classrooms. So I do think, given that the 500 school districts across the Commonwealth don't have them, that there is an expectation of privacy in a classroom. And parents aren't expecting their children to be recorded in the classroom. That doesn't mean, again, that it couldn't happen eventually, or we couldn't work through those challenges. But buses, whether you hop on a public transportation or a campus transportation, I don't think that same expectation exists because of past practice. So there are some spaces in the school district where classes occur that there are cameras. A great example would be a gymnasium, right? Our large spaces do have cameras. There is a camera in the auditorium, in the gymnasium at North Penn High School. There are cameras in the auditorium at North Penn High School, just to name a couple examples. But those aren't traditional classrooms. So it's really about that expectation at large. And it's not, I'm not just talking about one building or just this school district. We're talking big picture, and where is that expectation? Just you read these horrific stories that people have cameras in bathrooms or hidden. everyone expects privacy when they use a public restroom. They don't think there will be. So that would be a violation of the wiretap law. So what is the expectation of privacy and what isn't? But all things we have to work through. And I don't have all those answers. I am certainly not a law enforcement expert, nor am I an attorney, but that's my understanding.
Yeah. And like you said earlier too, there's so many different levels of what the expectation is. And, someone had a question here, Jennifer's about union contracts, and all of that is to be discussed and talked about. So it gets more complex quickly when you go into the actual what is allowed and what is not allowed. But more conversation to come.
Mrs. Diffley, good morning, Mrs. Diffley. She always chimes in on these, which I appreciate. She's correct in that. Like, I do think people would bring up that it's a change in working condition, right? Like, that's not part of the typical format for employees in public school districts. So just like I said, Bob, I don't believe you have a camera surveilling you at your desk all
surveilling day. No, but I got cameras around me all the time.
You do have a few cameras in your office. It's the same with me, right? So yeah, there are places where we expect a little bit of privacy and places where we don't. There are pros and cons to almost everything in the world, and this is no different. So I certainly see the value in having them. I certainly understand the concerns as well. So we'll work through it and continue to keep people posted as we progress.
Gotcha. Now, as far as the board meeting, like I said, I don't know there's anything else that was earth-shatteringly different on a regular board meeting. We did have, it was exciting this weekend, it's high school sports time, and our ice hockey team did what? What'd they do Sunday night or Saturday?
Yeah, for the first time in North Penn history, the ice hockey team came home with the state championship. So I don't know a ton about the setup and how that all works. I know there's a Flyers Cup and a Penguins
won that
Cup
previously, yeah.
Right. So you have the eastern part of the state. They participate in the Flyers Cup. You have different leagues, much like you do with traditional PIAA sports. I believe that ice hockey is still not sanctioned by the PIAA. I could be wrong about that. But I know that we have a great program. We have many students and families who participate. And it was exciting, like reading their updates, and they're getting closer and closer to that Flyers Cup. Oh, great. If they win the Flyers Cup, they'll get a chance to play the winner out in the western part of the state for the Penguins Cup. And lo and behold, our North Penn Knights won. So really, really great. I was getting text messages on Saturday. I kept an eye on the game as well. I was, like I said, at a tournament for my son. And then once we heard that they won, I called Mr. Rohn, our director of security, our coordinator of emergency management and safe schools, to arrange the police escort from the turnpike back to the building, sirens and excitement and horns. And so really proud of those students, happy for them and their families. It's a pretty neat thing.
I didn't connect it this weekend, but I whenever I live near the high school, so every time I hear sirens, I'm like, is everything okay?
Yeah.
And I looked, and I'm like, I didn't see anything. Like in the Montgomery County alerts, that's what it was. It was the team coming back. So now I didn't connect those dots earlier this weekend. So, and our boys, their 300 free relay, they were state champs earlier in the month.
400 free relay.
400? What did I say? 200? Did I say just free relay?
4.
Yeah, I know. And I don't even know what I just said.
You said 3.
Did I say 300?
Yeah, you did.
What a weird thing to say, because it's not even a thing. I'm just looking. We had a bunch of our girls swim team and our boys individual events. They did really well. Our Odyssey of the Mind team qualified for states. They're headed there about 10 days, I think. They're headed to the state championship. They're going. There's somebody else who just did something. Oh, our jazz bands, Columbia and Navia, they were just at Steel Stacks last night, and they both got superiors, and a couple of our students there also got best section, best trombone, I think was one of them. I'd have to go back and find the others, but a couple of our students got individual best of there as well. So lots of stuff happening this time of year. Everybody's doing really well.
Yeah, it's exciting times. I think we missed, and that's the worry in kind of giving some shout outs, Bob.
I know we're going to miss people.
We're going to miss people. And it is never the intent. It's always to be thoughtful and celebrate successes. And we certainly do our best. I believe I read last week that a 4x200 in indoor track was national champs, the fastest relay in the country. Pretty cool. So lots of accomplishments by amazingly talented kids. And I always say that That's not an accident, right? We have to understand how much the family and the coaches and everyone invests in these kids for them to find this kind of success.
Yep.
So it's just, I always say to my own children, I say to my son and my daughter, nobody ever won a championship on accident, right? It was always the goal. And just thank you to everyone who contributed to these amazing accomplishments of such talented children. Love it.
Gotcha. And then also we had our special education. I want to get the acronym right. Maybe you know it best. North Penn Parents
Special Education Alliance.
I was going to say association, but that didn't make sense. That's what kind of held me up there. But they had a big dance here on Saturday night here in the cafeterias. That's always an awesome time and really well done. So we really thank our parents and staff for making that happen. That's also an amazing time there. So
our community is helping us give the shout.
I know. I'm looking. I said, when you start saying one, that's how well everybody's doing over the course of the month of March here. What was the other one I just saw? The
indoor percussion got second at regionals.
Yeah, way to go, indoor.
Look at that.
Now, somebody else has to tell me. I'm assuming the visual ensemble also was somewhere this weekend. I don't know how they did. Throw that in our chat here, and so we can add it to our updates for tomorrow. So a lot of great things happening across the school district. It is, we had your Rock Your Socks events going on last week. World Down Syndrome Day, I think, was Friday. It was Thursday. So we have a lot of great events, and I'll promote our show tomorrow. So we'll have lots of updates on these stories and more on our North Penn Right Now, which is live on the last Tuesday of every single month. This year, we've been alternating between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Tomorrow is a 10 a.m. day, so you can watch that live on our YouTube channel with the rest of our classrooms and offices across the entirety of the school district.
Yeah, Bob, one other thing that I didn't throw out there was we did announce to seniors and their families the graduation date, or the commencement date, is going to be June 17th, which is Tuesday. And for years and years and years, it was, you never know how much snow you're going to get. You never know how long the school year is going to go. But since we have moved to the capability, at least, to have virtual instruction, there's less variability there. Remember way back, in the 90s, we had the blizzard and school was closed for a week. We had ice storms and so all of a sudden you're pushing 5 days, and you can imagine at the secondary level when you have final exams and all the challenges of the schedule. If your seniors finish 5 days earlier than the rest of the school, what that does to final exams when you have mixed classes, all that stuff. The variability in announcing a graduation date isn't that bad any longer. So you can usually tell that graduation is going to be within a day or two. And this year we didn't have any true snow days. We had 2 virtual days, which was like, it's probably safer just to be virtual. But we didn't have this massive precipitation event. So we are calling it before April 1st because the long range forecast doesn't look like it's going to have any snow.
I'm going to go ahead and call it, which means we'll get like a massive snowstorm.
Yeah, we'll get that April 1st snowstorm.
But I think we're good.
We have had years where we had storms at the end of March.
Oh, for sure.
But that doesn't look likely. So we're going to call it for June 17th. Even if we had a snowstorm, graduation is on June 17th. There's a lot that goes into it. We rent porta potties. We rent golf carts to transport people to the stadium. We hire emergency services to come in and help. And everything from the AV equipment and the speakers and the flowers and the chairs that we rent and the stage, it's a lot of stuff. And so we need a date, and we just announced the date, June 17th, Tuesday night. If there was inclement weather, that would be pushed to the next day. So unlike other neighboring school districts, we can't just say, oh, we'll move inside. No, we can't take 1,000 kids and their families inside.
Not anymore.
We're too big. Yeah.
I always say last time we did that was 1994 was the last time we had an indoor graduation, and we had rain that afternoon and we moved inside. And if you remember, I know parents wouldn't like this, we had the limit to 2 ticket onlys way back then. So we had like 750 kids in the class at the time. We could fit them on the floor. We could only do 2 tickets per. And then it was like really hot and steamy and doesn't sound great in the gym. It wasn't an ideal situation at all. But that is no longer possible. We're just too big to fit inside those gyms now. So I know I said it, Jennifer. I'm sorry. I said it's going to snow.
Yeah.
We're going to get like 3 feet.
I hope not.
Yeah, that's my fault.
It's time to turn things around and turn the page. Let's get that warm weather in here. And I've said it on these episodes many times, Bob, that I love winter weather. I love to ski, and that my family, my kids love to ski. But it's time. I'm ready for, the warmth.
It can be warm.
Longer days. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Yeah. We got teased there at the beginning of the month. It got warm for a moment, and then it got all cold and rainy again. So, but yeah, I'm just looking at the other questions here. Aaron's asking, isn't graduation always the last day of school? I think we go back to, technically, we don't tell you what the last day of school is until April 1st. And that's why that moves with graduation, depending if we had snow days in the past. Yeah.
So there are some challenges with commencement that, so for example, let's say we have graduation on a Monday. Well, that means everybody's got to come in and work on a Sunday. Right. Or we set everything up on Friday, set up the stage, set up the chairs, set up all that so that it's ready for practice on Monday morning. But then you need to have security there all weekend because you don't want anybody messing with that setup that takes us hours and hours and hours. Right. So it really depends where the 180th day lands to try to, obviously, having that separation, as I described, for when commencement occurs and when the last day of school is. For the rest of the grades K through 11, it's a challenge when there's a disparity. But Aaron is correct that we have had years where graduation's Thursday night and the last day of school's Friday, that kind of a thing. We try not to have commencement on Friday because if it rains, now it's on a weekend. So it's really like, where does that last day of school land? And in this case, yes, the last day of school is on Tuesday. Could we have considered commencement on Monday night? Yes. But then everybody's coming in on a Sunday to prepare. When are we doing practice?
Backs up reflections. Now, senior class night would have been Friday. Should reflections be Friday night? And senior class night is Thursday.
Senior awards night the week before. Like, there's so many dominoes as a result of this one decision that the Tuesday just lines up better for the schedule, especially because that's when the rest of the kids end. So lots that goes into it, Bob. And we always call it behind the scenes here. I'm going to share a little secret. We refer to Mr. Gilmer during the week of graduation as commencement Bob. Yeah. Commencement Bob gets a little crazy.
I was going to say a little less jovial. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Cannot fail. You cannot fail. There's no failure on commencement.
That's right. It is a once in a lifetime event, and Bob takes it very seriously.
We're not going to mess it up for 1,000 kids. That's for sure.
But that week, if you run into him, make sure you say, hello, commencement Bob.
I'm locked in. I'm locked in that week. I'm locked in all the time. Maybe not going to joke about it as much. I do want to give a shout out. Andy back up there said, congrats to our 3 middle schools on their musicals earlier this month. For sure, they were amazing. If you had a chance to go out and see them, always an amazing job. And I think as we begin to wrap up, I will agree with Aaron here. It's time for baseball, softball. We also have lacrosse and tennis and boys volleyball. And what am I missing now? I shouldn't start going down the list.
That's okay. Track.
Track, of course. Spring track. Yep.
Flag football.
We have our unified track team as well, and the girls flag football team. That is also their kick. This is their second official year. I
think it's third.
Is it the third?
Yeah.
I don't know if we had enough teams that first year. I think it was part of the state didn't have enough teams. We were official, but we're full on into it now. So very good. I think that you got it. I will wear my commencement. Thank you, Jennifer. So if people are just listening, I'm replying to comments here. That's a half hour there, Dr. Bauer. We're coming up. We got 53 seconds left. And yes, the spring musical is coming up, but we'll have another opportunity to talk about that before we hit the spring musical and our next Superintendent Live. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it. Anything else before we wrap up Superintendent Live for March 2025?
You know what?
You got 35 seconds.
Yeah, no, we're about to just put the pedal down on all things spring, all the performances, all the concerts, all the things. It's the best time of year and really looking forward to it. It's also, you said it's time, and Aaron said in here, it's time for baseball. I love baseball, but we're a big Duke family, and really good performance by my Blue Devils last night. So I'm still excited about basketball season, not ready to turn the page.
Not quite ready. Well, I always say this is the time of year we're on the roller coaster. It's clicking, clicking, click, 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 click. We're right about here. It's about to just take off. So, and then all of a sudden it's June 17th and we say congratulations and we've wrapped up another school year.
Yeah, great. As for the schedule for finals, when will that be published? Good question. I suspect it will be soon. Once we announce that commencement date, then they back everything up. And so it should be soon. I don't want to put a date out there because I haven't spoken to Mr. Hassler about it yet. I'm sure they're working on it, and I would expect it to be very soon. But I don't have a date. So, Bob, we'll hold off on announcing that just yet.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jim, for joining us. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for Superintendent Live for March 2025. That's all I have. Dr. Bauer?
Now, just appreciate people tuning in. This was a lot of engagement this time.
Yeah.
I guess giving shout outs gets people excited to, sing praise of the kids in the district. So exciting time of year. Thanks for joining us. And we'll be back next month for an update after our board meeting.
All right. Take care, everyone.